Okay, for memory tip 5, I'm going to do another walk and talk, sorry, at least for a little bit of this as I'm walking towards my bus stop. This is going to be application of the link and substitution, or link and substitution part 2. And that's because the last video was getting a little bit too long, but there's some really cool stuff that we can do when applying these link and substitution methods. Specifically, what I'm going to talk about today is more complex vocabulary, foreign vocabulary, and doing cool things like mind mapping actually in your mind. And so some fun stuff today. So more complex vocabulary is really just applying the same principles, and you just have to do a little bit of work to come up with similar words. And so no better way to illustrate than examples. Say, for instance, recalcitrant. If I want to remember recalcitrant, I need to break that into first words that I can picture. So I can think of a recall of a C-shaped train. Maybe these C-shaped trains are recalling, and the word recalcitrant means stubborn. Digging your heels in is really what it refers to. Calce, the root of that is heel. And so I imagine these trains recalling, and somebody is digging in their heels and refuses to budge as these trains are approaching. Recalcitrant, you're never going to forget that word. Hirsute is another antiquated word that means hairy. And so imagine a woman wearing a suit that is really, really hairy. Really picture exaggerated hair, and you're going to know what that word hirsute means. Any vocabulary word you can break down. It's actually kind of fun to come up with these words. And as I mentioned in the previous videos, it doesn't have to be exact. It's just close enough. And even if it's hard, even if you're having a hard time coming up with the image, it's still going to work because it's forcing your brain to pay attention. I'm just watching to make sure I don't miss my bus here. And then this can also be applied for foreign words. So say, for instance, in Spanish, the word for window is ventana. And so you could imagine a vent in your car, and tanning lotion is coming out of it, and you're spreading it all over your body. Ventana, you're going to remember that. You could think of the word pamplemousse in French, means grapefruit. So think of a pimpled mousse, and instead of pimples, big grapefruits are being substituted for these pimples. You're going to remember that pamplemousse means pimples. Imagine the word hermano in Spanish means brother. I can picture my brother as an airman in an airport. Hermano. I'm coming up with substitute words, and I'm linking them to the meaning. It's just as easy as English vocabulary. Even phrases, you can do the same thing. S'il vous plaît in French sounds a lot like silver plate. So s'il vous plaît means please. So if you can imagine, you're saying please to a silver plate. And then in terms of mind mapping, how you can apply mind mapping to these same techniques. There's no reason that you only have to link in one direction. You can make a chain that branches off. So you have one association that goes in one direction, and then associate the same item in a different direction, and that creates a mind map. And so you can do this in an unlimited way, an unlimited size, and you're going to retain all of these branches in your mind. And as well, say for instance, you can add on to a list that you've already created. You can fill in detail in a list that you've already created. If there's some extra detail, say for instance, I mentioned that appetite and opalite are different words for the same thing. You could just link those together so that you always remember the other words that you call that item. So you can actually branch off on any level of one of these linked lists. And as you review the lists, I mentioned about first test yourself right away, reinforce any links, test again after an hour, test one day after that, and if you really want it in long-term memory, test again after about a week. At that point, the funny images will actually fade away, and you'll just be left with the long-term memory. So this is very, very powerful stuff, and we're going to get into a lot more cool stuff in future videos. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.